What's up, guys? I have round 3 for you right here, and it's going to be against Chuppa. And if you don't know who Chuppa is, you can give him a check out. I'll leave a link in the description down below. He has a Nugget Bridge profile, and he is actually a very accomplished VGC battler. He has won a lot of premier challenges in his time playing Pokemon. He has won a few regionals, I believe, and he plays MPA on Nugget Bridge. So he is really good. He usually makes top cut everywhere he goes. So I was really anxious to play against him, and he had a team. It was actually a standard Kangaskhan chalk team. He had the Landorus, Thundurus, Kangaskhan, Cresselia, Heatran, and Amoonguss. Not much thought to the team, but it doesn't really matter what kind of team you bring. It all depends on the player, and he's a very good player, so he pretty much could use any team, and it would work for him. So I'm going to start this battle right now. We're going to get right into this. This is probably my favorite match all day, and if there was one match that I could pick out of the pile where I played flawlessly, it was this one, barring one turn, which you will see in this. So I'm gonna bring my Gardevoir right here. I literally went off the fact that he probably thought I was going to bring my Kangaskhan in this, and that's probably why he led with the Thundurus and Amoonguss, probably anticipating like my Kangaskhan melodic lead. He didn't want to give me the advantage by leading with his Landers to give me the competitive boost, so I kind of felt like he knew that, but I also wanted to get a Intimidate down on his Landers if he did lead that, and also the Heatran, I could just Earthquake the Heatran. So he's going to lead the Amoonguss and the Thundurus. He switches out the Amoonguss. He doesn't want to take a Psychic from my Gardevoir. I actually go for a Protect with my Gardevoir right here. I kind of felt like Amoonguss was either going to Spore it, or the Thundurus was going to go for a Swagger on it. I wanted to just stall out a turn, and I wanted to get good damage off into the Thundurus with my Landorus. Now, I was like, okay, if he Spores me, that's fine. The Amoonguss really can't do anything to me, nor can the Thundurus if it doesn't have HP Ice. I had to just go for that play. I needed to get damage down on them because I was protecting with my Gardevoir. So I was like, okay, he's going to Swagger me again. So I'm just going to switch into my Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr can take any hit that Landorus wants to throw at it because I didn't want any damage down on my Gardevoir. I needed to save it for late game and for that Amoonguss. So I go for another Rock Slide here. Now, I go for the Rock Slide for two reasons. I go for the Rock Slide because, you know, there's always that 30% chance that I can get the flinch on the Landorus, as well as doing a lot of good damage to the Thundurus, because I knew the Thundurus wasn't receiving my Rock Slides fairly well, and I knew if I go for another Rock Slide, it would most likely be KO'd. And I kind of figured that the Landorus was Assault Vested based off of his team, and I was absolutely correct. So I knew I was going to outspeed it. Now, this is the only play that I made that was questionable the entire match. I knew his Thundurus couldn't do anything to my Conkeldurr or my Landorus at this point, so I was like, he's definitely going to switch into Kangaskhan on that slot, anticipating like a nice punch and a nice punch from my Conkeldurr onto his Landorus, and he goes for the Earthquake, good damage, covering for switches, but my Conkeldurr is so bulky, I break through Paralysis and Confusion this turn, and that's a +2 Guts boosted Ice Punch. I mean, the Landorus couldn't do anything. So I get rid of the Landorus. I get rid of his Intimidation, which was awesome. Now he's going to bring in his Amoonguss. His Amoonguss is a huge threat because it can Spore my Landorus. I bring out my Conkeldurr right here because I knew he wasn't going to Spore that slot, and I didn't want to take another chance because I thought the Swagger Confusion could have taken me out if I did hit myself. So I go for the safe switch, and if he Spores, if he goes for another Swagger or something like that, he's going to go into my Amoonguss. You know, so be it. He can't Spore that slot. I was Thunder Waved. So he's just going to go for the safe Thunderbolt. It's going to be taken, received fairly well from my Amoonguss, doing nothing to it. And I know he couldn't go for the Spore if I protect it with my Landorus. So right here, I was expecting a Spore from onto my Landorus. I could not let that happen. I needed my Landorus. So he's going to go for a Taunt onto the Amoonguss. I didn't know whether or not he would have it since he had the, usually when you run Taunt, you don't run Swagger. Usually when you run Swagger, you don't run Taunt, but he's running both of them, which is really good on his part. So I end up playing right into his trap and going for a Spore, and he taunted me. So this turn, I felt like, you know, there's no point in me switching out my Amoonguss. He could predict a potential switch out and get a lot of good damage off, so I was like, I'm staying in with my Amoonguss. The Taunt will wear off in 2 turns. He can't do anything to my Amoonguss, what I want of his Pokemon. So I went for the Giga Drain, get some nice chip damage off into the Thundurus, because if the Drain Punch didn't KO the Thundurus, I knew both the Giga Drain and the Drain Punch, and I went for the Drain Punch to cover for any potential switches, especially the Kangaskhan, which now comes in, gets a free switch into Kangaskhan, but it's not really that big of a deal, because now at this point, I knew I could just go for a Mach Punch and win the game with my with my Conkeldurr because I could just Rage Powder and get nice Rocky Helmet damage off, which I do right now. I go for the Rage Powder because I wanted to get some good damage off into the Kangaskhan. My Amoonguss really can't do anything to the Kangaskhan, but I needed to safe switch it into my Landorus because I wanted to switch it back out so I could go for another Intimidate down onto this Kangaskhan. So he's just going to go for the safe return onto my Amoonguss. With the Intimidate, that's not going to do anything. He can't even 2-hit KO my Amoonguss now with an Intimidate just because it is so bulky. And I'm just going to switch out my Landorus right here. Or do I switch out my Landorus right here? I believe I switch out my Landorus right here. Oh, I'm still taunted. I do apologize. I'm still taunted. That's why I didn't go for the Rage Powder. I honestly just didn't care whether or not my my Landorus got KO'd right there. I knew the Intimidate was going to play a huge role right there. So he's gonna. I felt like he was gonna Spore my Landorus. So it's exactly what he's playing for right now. So he's just gonna go for the Spore of my Landorus. He can't Spore me now because I am paralyzed. That actually did help me out. Him paralyzing my Conkeldurr helped me out a lot. Gives me the Guts ability and he can't put me to sleep. So he's just going to go for the Rage Powder. I anticipated the Rage Powder, so I go for an Ice Punch. And he's just going to go for another return into the Amoonguss, but it's still not going to be able to KO. And Rocky Helmet Amoonguss putting in so much work right here, basically indirectly taking out his Kangaskhan. And my Conkeldurr is going to be paralyzed. At this point, it really didn't matter. My position in the match was really good. I'm going to go for another Ice Punch because I knew seeing that his Amoonguss had Sludge Bomb, I knew he was going to go for a Sludge Bomb on my Amoonguss because my Amoonguss was the biggest threat to his Kangaskhan. So I predict that. Go for a Protect with my Amoonguss. He falls for that. Goes for the Sludge Bomb in an Amoonguss slot. Now I go for the Mach Punch because in his position he can't go for another Rage Powder. He's not doing anything with his Amoonguss. So I go for the Rage Powder with my Amoonguss to take out the Kangaskhan. I actually went for the Mach Punch at that point, but I'm paralyzed again with the Conkeldurr, and then he just uses a Sludge Bomb, I believe, right here. Yep, Sludge Bombs my Conkeldurr, which is going to take it out. And I actually faced two Amoonguss in this Premier Challenge that has Sludge Bomb, and I never really seen that before. I think I've seen it like once on Battle Spot. But at this point, I didn't even have to Mega Evolve my Gardevoir because the game is pretty much won, and he is going to forfeit right here because I could just Psychic and then Rock Slide. And that's going to be a game, very awesome match against Chuppa Cross. I can't believe that I had actually beat such an accomplished VGC battler, but I mean, it just all depends on the situation, the time, and how you play. I mean, anyone can win any match. It doesn't matter who it is. Everyone's got to lose eventually. I mean, I went 5-0 and then I lost in the first round of Top Cut. So, I mean, everyone loses eventually. It all depends on how you play. I played very well, so I won. But that was a very great match to Chuppa Cross, very accomplished VGC battler, and thank you again for battling me, Chuppa. And Chuppa actually made it to Top Cut as well. He needed me to win the last match to go 5-0 in order for him to make it in the Top Cut to get the 7th seed, and I did that, and he got into 7th seed. He faced Justin Karas, who I beat in the 5th round in the first round of Top Cut, and unfortunately Chuppa got beat by Justin Karas, who I don't know how he placed, and I don't know how Lauren Schwelger, I believe her name is, placed as well, because I left after I lost in Top Cut, just so I can get home earlier. But it was a very good match against Chuppa, and pretty much, I think, yeah, two of the people they played in Swiss made it into Top Cut, which is really cool. Anyway, guys, I'm going to put up round 4 in just a moment, and that's going to be against Lauren Schwegler, that's how you say her name, Lauren Schwegler. She had a very good team. Like, I am borderline obsessed with her team. It's really awesome. So that's going to be round 4. Look forward to that in a couple of seconds. It's probably going to be up by the time you're watching this. See ya.